Welcome back to the channel. This is Star. Today I am thrilled to be able to reveal brand new gameplay of Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Thanks to the EA Creator Network, for the last week I've been able to play the game early and get into everything that it has to offer. I've already completed a full playthrough on Jedi Master difficulty, and I've started my second run to really make sure that I have everything dialed in. I've pulled several all-nighters this last week, going hard at the game, and I regret none of it. This is my full review of what I got to experience. There will be some light story spoilers in the video, which I'll try to save for the second half. I'm going to do my best to not ruin anything major, and I do have some limitations still on what I can reveal. But if you don't want to be spoiled on anything, I'll be sure to include the spoiler warning before we get into those details. As a quick reminder, we will be streaming Survivor right here on the channel tomorrow, April 27th at 8 a.m. Pacific time. So if you want to watch the game starting from the very beginning, consider subscribing to the channel and turning your notifications on so that you know when that live stream begins. But let's get into the review because I'm sure, as you can tell from the new gameplay, there's a lot to cover. So do me a favor, force push the thumbs up button, and let's check out Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Where to begin? Jedi Survivor is less a game and more of an experience. Like A New Hope when it first hit theaters in '77, or more recently, Endgame was that for the current generation. You just had to be there to witness it. This is kind of the same thing, except in the medium of video games. No cap, no exaggeration, this game had me laughing, crying, cheering, and in the last few hours of the story, I audibly yelled, "What the f*** about 20 times. It was a roller coaster, and we'll save the story stuff for the second half of the video, like I said, so don't worry about the spoilers just yet. Let's instead focus on some of this new gameplay, because I feel like I've been let out of my cage and I can finally show you guys all the cool stuff that this game has to offer. Like blaster stance, which has become my new favorite thing of all time. I'm sure you couldn't help but notice the bulk of this gameplay is that stance. I had so much fun running around with a blaster in one hand, a lightsaber in the other, and I know the fans have been deprived of it, so we've got plenty of gameplay of that here. I should note that I played my copy of Jedi Survivor on PlayStation 5, and I think that's actually probably a good thing for this review because I know there are concerns about performance and how well the game runs, especially on PC. While I can't personally speak for PC, I can tell you that it ran just fine on PlayStation. There were some spots in both the overworld and in the cutscenes where I lost frames and stuttered a bit, but all in all, it ran just about as well as I could have hoped. On PlayStation specifically, and I assume on Xbox too, there's a performance mode which caps the resolution at 1440, but it greatly improved frame rates. So I spent most of my time playing with that setting turned on, and it was a solid experience, really helped with those frame losses. The PC version has way more settings than the consoles too, so I'm sure that if your specs meet the minimum requirements, it'll run just fine on your machine. Before I start gushing over it, there were a few instances of glitched out enemies and models phasing through the world, but it was very minimal, and it seemed more like freak accidents than anything else. It really just made for some funny clips, and it didn't take away from the experience. The only time there was an instance of the game not working for me was because of user error, where I unmapped one of the controls, and when it came time to learn that specific move, the game didn't have a button assigned to it, and I wasn't able to progress for that reason. A simple reset and actually having a button assigned to that command fixed it over immediately. Aside from those very rare instances, more often than not, it was a smooth playthrough, and I honestly had trouble putting the game down. Cal really feels like a powerful Jedi Knight in this game, and it's great because you start with almost all of the skills that you picked up in Fallen Order. This does a really good job of actually feeling like a sequel. You don't suffer from what I call Sora syndrome, where he forgets everything in between games. Kingdom Hearts fans will know exactly what I'm talking about here. As far as gameplay goes, the game is just responsive, and this was a question I got asked a lot, was how clunky it feels compared to Fallen Order. It's extremely responsive in comparison. When you land your parries, you know you timed it right. The lightsaber attacks are impactful, you can feel every single blow connect, and it's just really satisfying, especially in crossguard stance. Exploration is a lot smoother too. You don't have to reset your sprints after a wall run or a grapple or anything like that. It's very free-flowing, which is a small detail in comparison to some of the other features, but it really made a huge difference for me while I was exploring the worlds, and it was really nice. Pretty much everything in Jedi Survivor, from the combat to exploration to even the worlds themselves is just so much bigger than in Fallen Order. Kobo, which kind of acts as a home base planet, is an absolutely incredible open world that is massive in scale. There are so many different locations and environments that sometimes you forget you're on the same planet, and it will take you probably a good 15 or more hours to fully explore just that one planet alone. Speaking of playtime, I completed my run on Jedi Master difficulty in just about 30 hours. That was the full story playthrough, from the very beginning all the way to the end credits. But that was not a 100% run. On that first run, I only got to 69% completion. Nice. So there was still a full third of the game that I had yet to explore. In fact, there were a lot of things that reminded me of some of those older single-player titles like Kingdom Hearts or Ocarina of Time, where you have to pass up certain things earlier in the game that you can't complete just yet, and the point is that you come back later when you've leveled up enough. There was a lot of that in Survivor, so just because you finish the main story doesn't mean there isn't more to explore and unlock. 30 hours is just what it took me also. It may take you less time or more time depending on how you play. There's a lot of side quests in Jedi Survivor, so if you really take your time with it and explore the planets to their fullest, it may take you 40 or more hours. It is not a short game by any stretch of the imagination. If you were concerned about finishing the game super quickly and then being done with it, that won't be an issue. There are hours of fun to be had. In fact, I'm happy to announce that Jedi Survivor will be launching with a new Game Plus mode right out of the gate. It will be available as soon as you complete your first playthrough. All of your lightsaber stances, skill points, and cosmetics will transfer over, and it will feature some unique perks and new lightsaber colors. This adds so much replay value to the game, so just because you complete your first playthrough doesn't mean that it's over. There's a few other cool features that I wanted to bring up before we talk about the story itself. As I mentioned, Blaster Stance is my new favorite thing. You unlock it a lot earlier than you might expect, so you're gonna have a lot of fun with that when you get it. In fact, this may be the first look at blaster customization on YouTube. Finding treasure chests in the world is actually worth it now because of all the customization options. You can make both Cal and BD look fly, and the weapon customization is pretty good depending on how many parts and color palettes you can find. There's a full array of brand new enemies to fight. In fact, there was only a handful of repeat enemies from Fallen Order, so the developers really went above and beyond when it came to designing that. If you played JFO though, you may actually recognize some of the enemies' attack patterns and you may know how to counter it, so having that knowledge from the first game does help. It's not just enemies that are new though, all of the planets and locations we visit are fresh. We don't visit a single planet from the first game, which was really nice. It might suck for fans of Bogano or Zepho or anybody who wanted to see those previous planets, but trust me when I say these new worlds are a joy to explore. You're gonna have a great time walking through them and just seeing everything that they have to offer. There's a lot of really fun mini-games and side quests in Survivor too. If you ever get bored of the main story, I don't know how that's even possible, but you can spend hours finishing those quests or hunting down rare cosmetic items. There's just so much to do in this game. All in all, I had so much fun with Jedi Survivor. Like I said, I couldn't put it down, and I happily pulled a few all-nighters just to get to experience all of it as soon as I could. We're now going to shift gears and talk about the characters and the plot, because I can't give my full review without at least discussing it a little. Spoiler warning goes into effect as of now. If you don't want to know anything about the new characters or the story, this is your chance to click off the video. If you're still here, I'm going to assume you don't mind knowing a little about what to expect, so let's get into it. Cal Kestis is a man without a home. All he knows is the fight against the Empire, and it's what has defined him up until now. Survivor explores this idea of living for the fight versus the concept of home and sharing that home with your family. And at the end of the day, Star Wars is a franchise that is about family. Any story in the Star Wars mythos that understands that gets an A+ in my book. Cal wrestles with this idea in the game, and it's a very logical place for his character to be right now. The characters that he interacts with along the way either push him toward the idea of settling down and finding a home, or they push him deeper into the fight. And one character that I'm really excited to talk about who embodies what Cal could become if he continues to obsess over the fight is Jedi Knight Dagan Gera of the High Republic era.
Yes, I am back.
My boy has been trapped in Bacta for centuries, and he's now loose and ready to cause havoc in the galaxy. He is an extremely convincing antagonist, and you can really understand why he does what he does. It's also written really well to show that Dagan is a mirror of Cal. He is what Cal could end up like if he lets his obsessions get the best of him, so he's not only a physical threat, but also an emotional and spiritual one for Cal to overcome. Every Jedi grapples with self-doubt, and meeting somebody who represents that doubt really does a number on Cal and determines his course of action. The supporting cast is all fantastic, with top-class motion capture and voice acting. It was amazing to see familiar faces like Greasy Money, Marin, Seer, and the new characters like Bode and Ravis really round out the cast. I will say right now, I was not ready for the ending of this game. I thought I knew exactly how this was going to go, and I was dead wrong. It's honestly impressive that the devs were able to keep so much of the final act a secret, because this is the kind of stuff that makes M. Night Shyamalan wet his pants. You're not ready. It's incredible. If I had to give Jedi Survivor a number rating out of 10, it's a solid 9.5. Giving it a 10 implies perfection, which I don't think is the case just yet, but it's definitely got that potential. It's easily the best Star Wars game released under EA by a long shot. And if you're planning on picking it up, I support this decision. If you're not planning on picking it up, I implore you to reconsider because, like I said, this is not so much a game as this is an experience, and I firmly believe everybody needs to experience this, if you're a Star Wars fan. If you're not a Star Wars fan, I don't know what you're doing watching this video anyway, but that's gonna do it for today. Thank you all so much for stopping by the Star Bazaar, checking out the new gameplay of Jedi Survivor and my full review. Last call reminder, live stream tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. We're gonna be playing Star Wars Jedi Survivor right here on the channel. We're gonna be starting from the very beginning, so make sure you're subscribed and getting notified so you know when that live stream starts. We're also going to have plenty of guides and tips and tricks videos for Jedi Survivor over the next couple of weeks, so I hope you join us for all of it. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If not, give it a thumbs down. But most importantly, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.